we go outside in these things? Well, what would you prefer? Yellow spandex? Welcome to the Pixel Pop Movie Podcast. I'm your host this fortnight, Toby. With me this fortnight, I'm joined by the adamantium skeleton and large razors, Ethan.
Hey, if it's me, I got a mullet now, so I'm pure Australian. Yeah.
Oh, Jesus. Yeah, he has a mullet too.
Filthy.
And the... I don't know. Oh, wait, no. Well, maybe if he kisses you, he steals your power, Lucas?
That's hot.
Yeah, that works for me. Have you got a white lock of hair?
Everyone's about to get a smooch.
You can have my superpower. I think it's farts and old age.
I already got the farts.
A little obscure, but our topic of conversation... Our topic of conversation this fortnight is the X-Men, and specifically how we think or feel they might merge into the MCU. We're going to run through a couple of hypotheses. We're going to discuss them. It's a topic that we've kind of brought up in previous episodes, but they're not sort of gone too far because we tend to waffle. So this episode, there will be much waffling, and I'm looking forward to it. But things have really started to get back to the norm. The cinemas are open, at least in our state, and they're now showing older films like Back to the Future and Predator and these sorts of things. But we do have new stuff coming in August, Tenet obviously being one of them and a few others. So things are starting to get back to normal, and as a result of that, the news and trailers has really picked up. So we've got a little bit to get through, which is great. So let's start there. Please take us away, Ethan.
That was a little bit of sad news, and that is Carl Reiner has passed away at the age of 98.
Yeah. What's freakish was out of the blue. I watched Ocean's 11 again for the first time in a long time. I think on the actual night that he passed away. Yeah, I mean, he's been around for a long time, and he was best mates with Mel Brooks, and he'd been doing stuff for bloody 50 years or more. Most of which I won't lie, I haven't seen, but what I have seen him in, I have enjoyed. I thought he was a good actor.
I can't actually ever actually seen anything with him in it. I could be wrong, but I don't think I have.
Yeah, fair enough.
And also, which happened today, and it is Kelly Preston has passed away at the age of 57 from breast cancer.
Whoa, that's
Kelly
news to
Preston.
me.
What did she play?
John Travolta's wife.
John Travolta's wife.
Oh, right.
Yeah.
That was today.
Wow, I didn't even see that.
Not too long ago, yeah. I saw it on Twitter.
Condolences then to John Travolta.
On to some less sad news, and that is James Bond, a violent extended cut of Casino Royale is going to be on HBO Max.
God, I can't wait for that to drop. I don't know where it's going to drop here, probably like Stan, but Casino Royale is probably one of my favorite James Bond movies. So if they're dropping like a director's cut that's going to be ultra violent, yes, give me.
Alright, next following up for some HBO Max talk, we have An American Pickle starring Seth Rogen.
I did watch the trailer. This looks interesting.
Yeah, it looks really weird. Did you watch it, Lucas?
I'm all into weird shit, and this is like 3 steps up the weird shit.
He's preserved in pickle juice for 100 years.
So, for those that haven't watched it yet, basically, Seth Rogen's character, is in the 1900s, and he's a farmer. Goes to work at a pickle warehouse type thing where they jar the pickles and stuff, and he falls into the brine, and he gets pickled for 100 years, and then is woken up, and he's like a 19th century dude living in the 21st century with his great grandson, which is also Seth Rogen. And he's dual playing the role, but yeah, I'm into weird shit. This is peak Seth Rogen weird shit.
Yeah, it looks amusing. Right, at the cinemas?
No, HBO Max.
Right, yep, cool.
Next we had another trailer for Candyman, which has now been delayed to October, I'm pretty sure of it now.
Yeah, that's
another
fine.
month.
Probably handy that it's coming out in October with Halloween.
Yeah, and Halloween has been delayed until October next year now. Halloween Kills.
Oh no, I meant at Halloween.
I know, Halloween time. But we had another trailer for a teaser for Halloween Kills, which has been delayed till October next year. We have a trailer for season 2 of The Boys.
Oh my god!
Yeah,
to premiere on the 4th of September.
Yeah. Did you see that he pushes the boy off the roof?
Yeah.
Yeah, it looks great.
Wait.
Looks great. Looks violent. Looks just as violent as the first one. Looks just as offensive as the first season. Yeah, keen. I really need to go back and watch the first season again, I think.
Yeah, I watched it twice already. There was also a scene in the trailer that I noticed of all of them on a boat, and there's a whole bunch of fins in the water chasing after them. So I assume the deep space sent sharks or dolphins after them and some shit.
Yeah, and then there's a scene later with old mate bursting out of a shark.
No, like a whale. That was way too big to be a fucking shark.
Well, it could be a ridiculous shark.
Like a giant whale.
Yeah.
I mean, it could be.
But yes, obviously, Fishman's gonna get the jump on them.
Yeah.
So yeah, that looks
next
good.
Year, we have a trailer for the Umbrella Academy season 2, which drops the end of this month, July 31st.
Yes.
I still didn't finish season 1.
Well, then you won't be watching this. You get no ice cream.
Unless I finish season 1, but I probably won't.
Season 1 was... it's probably futile telling you this, but season 1 was actually pretty good.
I'm not going to watch it now.
Yeah, great. Exactly. Knew it.
Next we have Groundhog Day star teases a TV show in development.
Yeah, so the chap that played Ned Ryerson, Stephen. Yeah, he had sort of let slip that one of the producers had contacted him and said, "Hey, would you be interested in doing a Groundhog TV show?" And he's like, "Yeah, sure." It wouldn't be Bill Murray, I don't believe. It'll be a much smaller cast, I believe. But I know if you read through the original sort of script and go into the making of kind of stuff, there were a lot of neat ideas that were in the original film that they didn't use, and I know so there's a lot more that they could do in terms of a TV, like whether it's a retelling, like it could be a reboot. I don't know. I don't think it's going to be the same without Murray, but it's really going to hinge on some good casting, and depends who gets that lead.
Next we have a Fallout TV show is in development between Bethesda and Amazon.
Yes, came out of fucking nowhere.
From the creators of Westworld.
Yeah, so John Nolan, Christopher Nolan's brother, cousin, I don't know what he is.
I don't know if they're related or not.
They are. They worked on The Dark Knight together.
Okay.
Yeah. But yeah, basically Jonathan Nolan and his wife, who's also his writing partner, they created Person of Interest.
Yeah.
Is that a TV show? Yeah, I think it was.
Yeah.
They created that. They created adapted Westworld from the novel, and now they're doing a Fallout TV show. It's gonna be pretty cool. Again, announcement kind of came out of nowhere. Bethesda were just teasing that something was coming. Everyone assumed it was a new Fallout game, and now it's a Fallout TV series. So,
I feel like having the Jonathan Nolan on that, it's going to be a bunch of weird twists and turns in the story, like how Westworld is as well. They're going to throw you off and be like big fucking cliffhangers and fucking plot twists and shit.
That also will come though with just Fallout in general.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
Fallout also does a lot of that stuff with their writing in their games.
Now we have J.J. Abrams is rumored to be doing a live-action Constantine movie for Warner Brothers, with Keanu rumored to be back. So because J.J. Abrams signed a big exclusivity deal with $250 million with Warner Brothers, so this is probably all to do with that. So I'm keen for another Constantine if Keanu's back. J.J.
Rumored. It's not confirmed. It's a rumor slash.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
So it could be completely fake and might not happen at all.
We also have some updates on a potential new Tron movie, which has been in and out of the works for a long time. It was all go ahead, and then it was cancelled, and it was all go ahead, and then cancelled. I want to see it. Maybe we won't. But there was, I think it was the last month or the month before, there's a music podcast who spoke with the president of music and soundtracks at Disney, and he said that he talked about how they work with Daft Punk for Tron Legacy, and how he had just started talks with them about returning for the third film, and that went largely unnoticed by a lot of people until some fairly legit people who have broken a lot of good news and legit news have said that our third Tron movie is quite likely with Jared Leto being in it.
Yeah. At this point, because we've already been teased with the idea of a third Tron movie, at this point to me it's just a rumor. Until there's actual solid announcement from Disney, I'm not taking this too seriously. But in saying that, the people that have talked about this have broken a lot of stories in the past that have come out as fairly legit. So,
next we have Lee Whannell, who directed Invisible Man, is now gearing up to do a Wolfman reboot, starring Ryan Gosling for Universal.
How do you feel about that? Because I don't think you're a big Gosling fan.
I'm right with Gosling. It's Lucas that doesn't like Gosling.
Oh, I like Gosling.
I thought you didn't like Gosling, Ethan. I know, because I know you're a Wolfman. You like the Wolfman kind of...
I like them when they actually look like Wolfmen, or like if you watch Van Helsing with Hugh Jackman when they look like that. I fucking hate it when they just turn into a wolf. I think that's fucking utter bullshit.
Yeah, all right. Yeah, so yeah, the Wonder Years is getting rebooted with an African American family. So it's like going to be... I don't know if I don't know if it's still going to try and keep the humor, or if it's going to... Because the other thing with Wonder Years originally, it was that it was all set in the 80s. So I don't know if it's going to be set in the 80s again, or whatever it was. It was in the 80s, actually. It was like 60s, wasn't it?
I don't know. 60s.
Yeah.
I think it was 60s. Yeah,
it was set in like the 50s or 60s, I think. In saying that, though, they kind of have a show like that already, of like a show being made today about the 80s, and that's the Goldbergs. So if they like do that again, I guess like we already have a show that's on TV that's like that.
But that's happening.
A Batman spin-off focused on the Gotham PD is coming to HBO Max. It's a prequel series to the Batman film coming out, starring Robert Pattinson.
Oh, so it's actually tied to the Batman film.
Yeah.
So is Pato in the TV series as well?
No. This is just about Gotham PD, not about actual Batman. So it's about the Gotham PD that's...
So it's basically the Gotham TV show, but just with less Batman.
Matt Reeves is all behind it. He's writing and I think directing the pilot.
Jeffrey Wright going to be in it?
Yeah, I think they confirmed he will be. Yeah, he will be on the as Gordon.
All right, I'm on board.
Yeah. So it's going to dive into how Gotham became corrupt and infested with criminals. So like the Gotham TV show. Okay.
Yeah, it sounds a lot like a reboot of the Gotham TV show with just less Batman.
It does really.
Yeah.
Ryan Murphy, who you'll know from American Horror Story, and Blumhouse are teaming up for a Stephen King movie adaptation at Netflix. They're doing a short story, Mr. Harrigan's Phone.
Yeah, I have no idea what the story is, but yeah.
I didn't actually hear what the story was. Like, I just saw that Ryan Murphy and Netflix were teaming up with something with Blumhouse. That's all I saw.
It says, Mr. Harrigan's Phone follows Craig, a young boy who is hired by Mr. Harrington, an elderly billionaire who is retired in a small town neighborhood. After years of keeping him company, Craig buys Mr. Harrigan an iPhone. Upon Mr. Harrigan's death, Craig arranges for the phone to be buried in his old friend's pocket. After leaving a voicemail to the deceased Mr. Harrigan, Craig receives a message in return and discovers that not everything dead is gone.
Spooky phone calls.
Wrapping up our news, we have Bird Box 2. It's on November at Netflix, apparently.
Yep, confirmed. Yep.
Great, can't wait for Bird Box 2 challenge.
Yeah. And then Binge. We want to talk a little bit about Binge.
Yeah, so Binge is a streaming service available in Australia now, and it's been out for a month, maybe 2 months.
A little bit longer, yeah. I can't remember exactly, but like I got it the week it came out.
And it's something we haven't talked about, but Lucas has it, so we thought we'd get him to sort of say, hey everybody, this is Binge, this is what it is, this is what it's got, and this is what it's going to cost you.
Yeah, it's pretty cool. So basically, like, at this point, I don't know when Australia is ever going to get HBO Max. This is pretty much as close as we'll get at the moment. I mean, it's got stuff on there, like it's got all of Game of Thrones on there, which was pretty much exclusive to Foxtel. Binges are owned by Foxtel as well. Yeah, it's got stuff on there like Chernobyl, The Wire, Ballers, which is The Rock's TV show. I'm pretty sure it's got like all of like Modern Family and stuff on there too. So it's got a fair bit on there.
What was interesting too, I noticed it's got some Hulu stuff on there as well.
Yes. Yeah, so basically just because the rights to some of Hulu's stuff in Australia was bought up by Foxtel. So Castle Rock, I think, as well, which was
Castle Rock's on there. They've also got What We Do in the Shadows, the TV show.
That's FX in the States.
Yeah. But I'm saying they've got stuff that you're just not seeing on Amazon or Netflix here.
Yeah, Walking Dead. All of the Walking Dead and Fear of the Walking Dead's on there. The only downside to Binge is that there's nothing week to week. So, for example, like with Netflix and that, you can get like Snowpiercer will be week to week. I was watching The Good Place. They were dropping episodes of that week to week on TV. On Netflix. We were looking at like when Westworld, what was it?
But I guess they got a name to live up to. I mean, it's called Binge for a reason, right?
No, but like it was just interesting that like there was some new season stuff. So like we watched Last Week Tonight here. and some of the season was on there, but it was like 4 episodes back. So they only seem to drop it, like, funnily enough, in Binge drops. So, like, maybe 4 episodes at a time, so you sit through and watch all 4 episodes at once.
Right.
But that's the only downside is, like, you would expect with something that has, like, a lot of this content, some of it is new releases. Like, for example, when The Walking Dead comes back on in October, if it comes back in October, but you would expect when the episodes start dropping again, like, the episodes would be on there week to week, but they're just not.
Right.
So,
Okay.
definitely worth it. Definitely worth checking out. I'm a bit of a sucker for, like, Gordon Ramsay stuff. There was heaps of Gordon Ramsay shit on there. Heaps of documentaries. His Dark Materials is on there too. I haven't started watching that, but at the moment, I've been watching The Wire because I've never watched it before, and it's fucking awesome. Yeah,
it's $10 Australian a month, which does make it a little pricier, especially compared to, say, Amazon Prime.
Well, Amazon Prime and Binge are the cheapest because you got Netflix, which is going anywhere between $13 to $20. Stan's getting up there at about $20. Like, Binge, for what you get, Binge is pretty decent.
I don't think I played that. I didn't think I've got the super basic Netflix package. I thought it was cheaper than that.
We got 4K. So
yeah, I dialed mine back down. I didn't need it. Like, I dialed it up for a while, and then I just went, I don't need this, and dialed it back down.
Yeah, no, we got the 4K stuff. So, like, I know the 4K is about $20, and then like Stan's getting up there as well. I think Stan's getting close to $20 now. Yeah, Amazon Prime and Binge are about. Yeah, I think Amazon Prime's about $8, right?
Yeah, it's amazing value. Like, if you've only got enough for one, I mean, Netflix, I think, has probably the better content, but for $8 a month, you get your Amazon Prime, plus you get your Twitch Prime, plus you get free delivery on a whole bunch of stuff from Amazon Prime Shopping and the rest of it. Plus you get some of the music for free as well, the Amazon Audio. Plus you get discounts on the Audible books. Like, it's because the company's just so big that they can afford to give you so much.
Yeah.
So it's a hard one to pass. It sounds stingy, I know, but if Binge was more like $7 or $8, I'd probably get it. And I know $2 a month doesn't sound like much, but there's just something in me that's like, nah, I can't do it. Not at 10.
No, I think for what it's worth it, like, there's a lot of high quality stuff on there. Again, you know, the Walking Dead stuff. All the Game of Thrones is on there. You got Westworld. You've got
I don't think Game of Thrones is a selling point anymore. Maybe the first 6 seasons.
At least the first 6.5 seasons of Game of Thrones are on there. Sopranos is on there. I'm just going through the list. Sopranos, Succession, Downton Abbey, The Americans, Top of the Lake, Castle Rock, Big Little Lies, Chernobyl, The Wire.
Okay, well, it sounds alright. So, I mean, obviously, you would say, look, there's obviously a free month, like most services, I would imagine.
2 weeks, I believe.
2 weeks, okay, so you can check out for 2 weeks. If you're already a Foxtel owner, is it worth getting Binge, or should you cancel your Foxtel and get Binge, or is it worth getting both?
So the majority of stuff that's on Binge is already on Foxtel. Basically Binge is Foxtel Now without the streaming, like the channels. Where, like, for example, we used to have Foxtel Now, and it was like $25, and you'd get like 15 or 16 channels.
Yeah, I think it was Foxtel Now, Foxtel Go, and I just had the fucking drama pack, which had like Showtime and Westworld and like Game of Thrones and all that on it.
Yeah, that's what we had.
And it was like $20 a month or something like that. So I was like, yeah, alright.
Yeah, so basically this is just that, but it's 10. It depends on what you get, $10 to $14 a month.
Alright, fair enough. Alright, so it's been 2 weeks, we've definitely had longer gaps, but is there anything that you guys have watched in the last 2 weeks that's worth noting?
I watched The Old Guard on the weekend.
Oh yeah, Netflix. I was sort of scared by the trailer and that it might look a bit average. What did you think?
I thought it was actually not too bad. I would say the plot's a bit predictable, but the fight and action scenes are actually pretty good.
Okay.
Leaves it open for a sequel. By the sounds of it, that Netflix is keen to keep going. So we'll see how that goes, but I thought it was quite good.
Okay.
I've been watching Unsolved Mysteries on Netflix as well.
Oh my god, I need to finish that.
Pretty good. Otherwise, I haven't watched much else, I don't think. That's about it. Oh no, I watched Moana and Toy Story 4 and the live action Lion King at the weekend as well. I watched all 3 of those.
How was Lion King?
It was okay.
Yeah.
The best part of it's Timon and Pumbaa, but that's it.
I think the best part was Timon and Pumbaa in the original as well, to be honest.
Yeah.
For me.
I mean, like, Seth Rogen as Pumbaa is absolutely fucking perfect, and Billy Eichner as fucking Timon is perfect casting for both of those. It was really good.
Right.
Okay. So yeah, that's about all I watched. I haven't watched anything else.
Yeah, I've been pretty busy. I did sit down and watch The Social Network again.
That's such a good movie.
It is, yeah. It deserves all the praise it got. It's fantastic, and it's one of those films that I can go, gee, I only watched that 3 or 4 months ago. Don't care, going to watch it again anyway. From the soundtrack with Trent Reznor and whatever have you, to the script, to the directing, to the acting, and ignoring the story behind it in terms of like what it was based upon, the source material. It's just a fucking good movie. Do you caught anything in the last 2 weeks of note?
I managed to break down the girlfriend to get her to watch Fast and Furious.
Oh, okay.
We sat through and watched everything from Tokyo Drift to Hobbs and Shaw in the last 2 weeks.
Right.
And
she
went from get this shit off my screen to being an emotional train wreck. But apart from that, we watched that. We went and saw Rocky Horror at the drive-ins on Saturday night.
Nice.
That was a riot. That was so much fun. It feels really good getting back in front of a big screen again and watching movies with your friends. Like, and the thing that I've graciously missed out because I wanted to give it its own shout out. Oh my god, Hamilton!
Oh, it was good. You enjoyed it? I did see positive reviews.
Oh my god, it's incredible. We obviously schools here. Like Ethan wouldn't know because I think he went to school in New Zealand and I went to school way after Toby because Toby's old.
I am
but
old.
A lot of US history isn't really taught here unless you do like actual history classes. It's a lot of it is you kind of taught about the wars, you taught about Australian history, and that's really it. So a lot of the stuff in that movie, or like in the production in that, I had no idea. So I was going into this whole thing fresh, and I was so wrapped up in the story that like I didn't know what was going to happen. Like this is a historical tale. I had no idea what was going to happen, and I was so excited. But yeah, everything from like the music to the production, the costumes, like everything on it is amazing. The movie's only been out a week and a half, I think, and we've easily watched it 5 or 6 times. And that doesn't even count how many times we've listened to the soundtrack. Like, it's all the songs are fantastic. It's definitely worth a watch, especially if you like history in general, because this is all stuff that really happened.
Before we get into the topic conversation, just quickly, last episode we were talking about walking out of films and switching films off. I threw a post up on our Facebook page and just sort of asked other people what they felt and what they thought. We got a few responses. In terms of the voting, the biggest reason for people to switch off or walk out was that the film was boring, which kind of makes sense. Just some of the comments. Never walked out of a movie, but turned off a few when I found out they had been overhyped by friends or advertising. So, Skyline.
That's me. That was me on an alt account.
That's a big thing for me, like overhype. Like that's why I try not to overhype things. And
yet fail. You overhype everything.
Everything you talk about is fucking.
Yeah, Lucas is the hype train.
Sometimes I just do it like out of habit, but like I try not to.
Well, anyway, some of the other comments were: walked out of Avatar. It was just so boring, no matter the visuals. Keck. Never walked out of a movie. Don't care if it sucks. I paid to be there, and I'm seeing it. So that's the same as you,
mine.
Ethan.
Yeah.
And then someone else said, usually only when cringy situations arise will make me turn it off, such as giving a half-drunken speech at a wedding. So cringy stuff, I guess. But anyway, so I just thought I'd bring that up. So yeah, so there's a few reasons out there why people are turning off films. But let's move on to our topic of conversation now, because I feel it's one that's going to take a bit of time up, and that means all the more editing for me. And that is the X-Men joining the Marvel Cinematic Universe. Now, one way or another, Disney now owns Fox, they now own the X-Men, and there will be more X-Men movies coming. The question is, how, if at all, are they going to introduce them to the existing MCU? And as I said, it's a subject that we have touched on here before, but we sort of ended up getting edited out, or we move on because it's not the focus of the conversation. So this time it is, and rather than just sort of jumping into a spaghetti bowl of madness, I want to sort of go through a couple of theories and then discuss if that's plausible, why not, etc. If that makes sense. So the first being, do we think that Marvel will have the X-Men movies in a separate universe that will not cross over into the existing MCU?
No. I can't see it not happening. No.
No?
There's way too much money in putting Wolverine with Hulk. There is way too much money in putting Cyclops with, let's just say...
There's way too much money putting Storm with Black Panther.
That's a big thing.
Put it there.
Storm... I think the biggest... Yeah, Ethan's nailed it on the head. The biggest pro is putting Storm and Black Panther together.
Right. Okay. Are they a couple in the comic books, are they?
Married.
Okay. Does that mean that in the Black Widow movie we'll see a cameo from Matthew Murdock, and that's why he also turns up in Spider-Man 3? Just quietly?
No.
Because Black Widow's married to Matthew Murdock.
Wait, what?
Yeah.
In the comics, they are.
Yeah, in the comics. Yeah, in the comics.
Are they really?
Yeah, Black Widow's married to Daredevil.
I've never read that.
Daredevil has literally said his favorite sound in the world is hearing Black Widow's heart.
Yeah. Anyway, he's not an X-Men, so that doesn't count. All right, so we're pretty staunch on them not being in their own. Is there any argument though where you might believe that Disney would keep them as a separate franchise?
Yep. For them to do the Deadpool kills the Fox universe, and they'll come back over after that.
Fair enough.
That's not a joke. That's been discussed apparently.
I know. All right, so assuming then that they intend to bring the X-Men characters into the MCU, would it be the existing MCU as we know it now, or would it be... Are we more perhaps likely to see a complete reboot of the MCU?
No, it'll be the existing MCU. Again, there's way too much money. Like, I could kind of talk theories and I guess on how mutants come about. I don't know if that's exactly what you want to talk about, but
we will. I'll get you there, but I'm just I'm skirting around it before we jump in the deep end.
Yeah. So basically, yes, mutants in the current MCU as we know it. Yes.
Yeah. So you don't think that we would have a fresh MCU, like we wouldn't reboot the MCU so that we could then accommodate the X-Men, so that the whole thing's like, Civil War. We do Civil War all over again, but this time as it is in the comics, so to speak.
No. I would say yes if
10 years had passed.
If Spider-Man was the end. If they said that, or even Endgame, if they said Endgame or Spider-Man was the last movie, we're not doing Black Widow, we're not doing Shang-Chi, we're not doing Eternals, we're not doing Thor 4, if we're not doing all of this, and they were like, hey, guess what? We're going to do X-Men now. I would go, yeah, cool, do them separate. But the fact that the MCU is continuing and they're starting a new story with Black Widow, that's then going to lead, fuel the next 10 years of Marvel films, it would be financial suicide.
Okay.
To not acquire those characters and then say, hey, we're not going to use them. Like, look how hard they fought for Spider-Man. Spider-Man was a character they were never going to get. Guess what? They just got all of Fantastic Four. They got all of X-Men. Like, they got Daredevil, which is still currently an active franchise that's doing pretty well. X-Men sure has ended with Dark Phoenix. Like, that whole X-Men thing has wrapped up now. Yeah, it would be financial suicide for them to not spend all that money acquiring Fox and then just be like, yeah, let's, Wolverine, really? Do we need to use him? Like, this, 5 years time, let's just say, would be the perfect time to kind of pull the trigger and be like, hey, guess what? Here's the MCU version of the X-Men. Here's the MCU version of mutants.
Right. So again, before we dive into the deep end here, could you envision a situation where the existing X-Men cast, I would imagine the younger cast, are moved into the MCU as it stands, so that the existing Fox canon is carried over?
Yeah.
Yes, one specific way.
But
I feel like Ethan's going to say the exact same way.
Do you think they will do it?
No.
Okay, so there's a way to do it, but you don't think they will?
No, the way to do it would be Doctor Strange 2, Multiverse of Madness, Scarlet Witch fucks some shit up and Doctor Strange tries to remedy it. And by doing that, he merges the current MCU universe with the other one, pretty much.
With the Fox
Basically,
universe.
they would have to do a House of M level event.
Yeah.
To merge the worlds.
Which is not impossible. I mean, House of M was a very popular comic series, so...
Well, yeah, House of M's a very popular storyline. But that's what I mean, like, basically, House of M merged, like, 3 or 4 different arcs together into one.
But
that's what I mean in the sense of, like... You're right.
You carry on, Lucas.
I was just going to say that's basically what they would have to do. They would have to do some high concept level event, and they've already got Scarlet Witch in the universe, who, as far as we know, with WandaVision, is going to be learning how to use her powers how to use her powers better. But then also you're going to have the Doctor Strange element of like, hey, we're exploring multiverses, and the X-Men universe is adjacent to the MCU. If they were to do it with the current X-Men cast, that would be the only way you could do it, because at this point there's been no mention of anything to do with mutants, bar the Nick Fury deleted scene where he was talking about Spider-Man and the mutants in Iron Man when he was talking to Tony Stark at the end of the first film. That deleted scene that we all know now exists. But the fact that they would have gone 10 years or 11 years in the MCU without mentioning mutants, to then be like, oh, they were in secret the whole time, like, it doesn't make sense, because you have the whole thing where Mystique was outed trying to kill Trask, and mutants are fairly well known publicly in that universe. It's all of a sudden like, oh, we're not going to talk about those at all. Like, it just would seem strange. The multiverse angle with Scarlet Witch in Multiverse of Madness would be the way to do it.
And that's like, further into that is how I actually think they will do it, which what I can go into, but...
We will in a second. I would imagine then most of the existing cast for, like, the younger X-Men, that were used in Apocalypse, and most of those actors probably are no longer on contract, I would imagine. Like, their contracts are up. Could you see Disney recasting but saying this is the same canon, this is the same Fox characters, because they wanted to preserve, rather than go back through and redo origin stories and everything?
No. And I can point to an incredibly specific example. Andrew Garfield's Spider-Man. Andrew Garfield's Spider-Man was supposed to get a 3rd and 4th film, but Sony nixed it in favor of doing a rebooted MCU version of Peter Parker with Tom Holland. So, if they were going to do versions of the X-Men, they will be new characters to the franchise.
Okay, all right.
And they would also be new people.
All right, so we've brought it down to the point that we're logically assuming that the X-Men will be a fresh cast, therefore more than likely fresh origins, and they will be brought into an existing MCU that has, well, no longer has Iron Man, but has, Black Panther and, War Machine and all these characters that we're familiar with now. The question, of course, is how are they going to do it? And I guess there's a number of ways. The most prevalent theory being, is it the most prevalent theory being the next Doctor Strange movie?
Yeah, that's what I was going to say. So, I think it will, and down to that, the only person that I think will stay the same is Ryan Reynolds' Deadpool. I feel like that's the only one out of any of those X-Men Deadpool movies that will stay the same as him. Everything else will change.
I specifically, to add on to that, I think the reason, like, that's a pretty good chance of happening, purely because Bob Iger and Kevin Feige both said that Ryan Reynolds' Deadpool is their favorite thing, and that they're not doing. And
he's also had meetings with Marvel already as well.
Yeah, and Ryan Reynolds has also confirmed Deadpool 3 is in development under Marvel. Under Marvel Studios, not Disney or not under the Fox banner. It's actually in production under Marvel Studios.
So again, like the theory with Doctor Strange and Multiverse of Madness, it's like I said before, Scarlet Witch is going to do something at the end of her show, and it's going to lead him to Doctor Strange, and he's going to fix it somehow, and maybe the only way to... Let's say what I think is that Scarlet Witch is going to rip our universe, our reality apart, and the only way to mend our universe and reality is to combine it with another one to fill in the gaps. and that's how mutants come over. They take the mutants and stuff like that from a different universe and other parts of that world, and it merges with our one. And it's almost like, we've already had 5 years gone, they've sort of just gleaned over a little bit and not explained a whole bunch. They can easily do that with the general population not knowing what's happened. They're just rolling along with the entire change. And it's just like how they've always thought it's been. But I feel like we're going to gain mutants in Fantastic Four, but I think we're going to lose Spider-Man. I feel like he's going to go into a different universe of his own because of this, as a way for Sony to get him out.
So if we're going to roll the X-Men from another dimension into our dimension, I guess I have two questions that would relate to that. Is one, are you talking about moving only the X-Men, or are you talking about moving, a billion normal human beings as well?
It could be that completely, but like both universes won't know any difference.
Yeah.
Right. Okay, because the other thing is, of course, if you do that, you're bringing the X-Men into the MCU halfway through sort of their own existence. So that means you're going to lose the origin stories for a lot of these characters.
I also feel like we're going to get, as you've seen with Marvel too, with Spider-Man, we're not getting characters we've seen in other Spider-Man movies. I don't think we're going to get the same classic X-Men characters we've had. I don't think we're going to get Wolverine, we're not going to get Professor X. I feel like we're going to get other well-known ones we haven't seen yet to keep it fresh. So it's not we got another person playing this one. Oh, we got this again. They bring new ones in to make it
I think you're onto something there, to be honest. I think that's the way you would need to do it, because again, like if you try and bring in, say, Wolverine, and you're not explaining anything. I mean, and he comes in, he's like, "What the hell?" Like, whereas if you were to do something like the people that blinked out and came back, and a percentage of them came back wrong, as a for instance, that would then allow you to create an origin story for mutants that we hadn't seen before, and sort of show them in a new world in a present day. Finding out they're mutants. Whereas if you bring in the X-Men classic storyline, it doesn't quite work. It's very hard. I think if you were to copy-paste, the X-Men characters as we know them into the MCU, it'd be very difficult. Extremely difficult.
Yeah, 100%. And in Fantastic Four is not when you have to copy. Fantastic Four can just appear at any time. They don't have to when they have a long and grand history in the universe.
Yeah, exactly. They have to go on their space journey, get full of radiation, and off you go. Yeah, easy. But I think, as I said, like could you imagine picking up, Xavier and Magneto and Cyclops and Jean Grey and all these characters, and then with all their powers and all their backstory, and then just dumping him into the MCU, like now, all at once.
I feel like a lot of the audience knows those characters and knows their backstory, that they don't need the explanation.
Yes. That's a big thing.
I feel like that's enough now to this point where everyone knows that. We don't need an origin story of fucking Jean Grey. We don't need an origin story of...
No, I agree. It's the same reason we were able to skip it with Spider-Man, and I get that. I think more... I'm trying to look at it maybe from the character's point of view. Can you imagine those characters coming into the MCU world, and Xavier no longer has his money, like, they don't have the school, like, the impact it would have on those...
That's the thing. They would.
So the way basically the snap, or like, for example, if they were going to do it by the snap, by like a parallel universe, like a multiverse level event, is that Scarlet Witch changes 616, which is the movie universe code, to that mutants have always existed. Like,
and the humans just don't know any different.
Yes. So the two universes combined, and everyone memories is just, it's always been like that. It's never been any different, and I feel like that's the easiest way to slip it in there.
I agree, but
how's all this in here?
I think
there is a much easier way, but I'm going to talk about that.
It feels a bit lazy though, and I mean, I don't know how else you can do it. I'm not a writer, but it does feel a bit lazy.
It is lazy, but they will have the explanation, no doubt. Like Doctor Strange would be like, "Oh, I'm going to merge these two. No one else will know the difference, but I will," sort of thing. Like we'll know what we've done here, but no one else will. This will be like our fucking burden to take, and all this. And we're sort of like tearing this one universe into ours to try and mend it. Like, we're killing lives, we're trying to fix our own world, and all this sort of shit. So we have to take this burden, sort of thing.
And again, I mean, I'm not a writer. I think the only way you could make this happen logically in a way that an audience is going to believe it is, you take the Avengers as they stand now, where they're down a good chunk of the team. You know what I mean? Like, they're retired, they're dead, whatever have you, and Earth is now vulnerable. And then you take the X-Men world where it might take the original story path where they were losing. You know what I mean? Like, they had to go back in time to try and save their world. So you take their world, which is in peril, and you take our world, which is in peril, and it's a case of, right, well, we're going to merge, not because, oops, we're merging because neither reality can exist against the forces of evil on their own. You need our help, and we need your help, and, you know, together we will be able to defend the Earth. I think is that perhaps a bit more plausible, rather than, oops.
I mean, maybe.
Because then you go into it willingly, because then the X-Men are like, you know what, we're fucked. We're in the final bastion in the mountains. You know, the Sentinels are smashing the doors down. There's nothing we can do here but die. And, you know, you might have another sort of high-level event happening in Earth. Like, you know, we don't know what's happening in Eternals and Shang-Chi and other things. You know, and Doctor Strange too. That's like, okay, we're on the brink of extinction again. And then the worlds combine, and together they take care of the Sentinels and Apocalypse or whatever, and they take care of whatever's threatening, you know, Galactus or whatever is threatening Earth, and that's how they exist together forever, and they form that bond.
Oh yeah, it could be this. So Doctor Strange could be like, oh, here's a world that's fucking on the brink of death. I'm gonna just fucking take this one.
I don't think you would take. No.
I think he would. Doctor Strange's arrogance. You know, he's arrogant. And he knows what he has to do things right, and I feel like he would be.
I could still see him.
That.
I can still see him having a meeting though, and at least, you know, there's a time stop, and he's talking to.
Yeah, you know what? He does. He does have a meeting. He goes to that universe, and they have the Illuminati, and he talks to them. There you go.
I don't think it would, if you force the X-Men in. I think you need to say, hey, look, this is what we need to do as a team. We need to work, because then you're not a rival force. You're a unit. You're a singular, you know, force of good.
And the thing is, there's a lot of rumors going around of us getting Storm and Black Panther 2. There's a lot of rumors of that going around, and there's also some rumors of some mutants showing up in Falcon and the Winter Soldier. So maybe even these theories that sound like they could be entirely plausible, they just may not be going with at all. It could just be mutants have always existed just in secret the entire time.
I feel that it would be dumb.
It would be, because it would erase a lot of history that you can pull from the comics if you did that.
Yeah. Alright, so Lucas, you've got an alternate theory, or you've got a side theory you wanted to sort of throw at us?
Yep. So, this is the theory I've had the moment it was announced Fox and Disney were merging. Because around the same time, another thing was announced. The Eternals. I think the mutants are going to be descendants of Eternals. Because the Eternals are celestial experiments that were discarded. Basically, like Thanos kind of talks about it in, I want to say, it was Infinity War. That, because Thanos is a deviant, which is basically a faulty Eternal.
Yeah.
Well, he's an Eternal, but he has the deviant gene, which can surface in a number of species, I thought.
Yes, correct.
Yeah.
But the Eternals are experiments of the Celestials that were basically the perfect race, where the deviants are the ones that had the deviant gene that basically weren't as perfect as the Eternals were. So the way you could possibly argue it in is that we don't know. So a big thing with the Eternals, a lot of this right now is kind of rumor, is theory crafting, and going off kind of things we know from the comics. We don't know how the current Eternals in that film are, like, we don't know how they work at the moment. Whether or not the snap might have activated the Eternal powers, or if they were all just regular people who were dormant, that now something has happened and then basically the switch has been flipped, or if they've been in secret the whole time and they've been hiding out for all of this time. That's something that's obviously going to be explored in that film. But if they're going to do something in the ways of basically like a switch being flipped, that's how you do the mutant gene.
Right.
you flip the switch on Eternals, you flip the switch on mutants at the same time.
But that would then mean brand new mutants in the world for the first time. You wouldn't get, again...
So everyone basically will become mutants at the same time. Like, again, a lot of this is really theory crafting and kind of going off just things from the books. You know,
I think one other thing that probably gives credence to Ethan's suggestion too that the universe is folding is if you do it that way too, it allows you to bring vampires in.
100%.
Which we're going to need because you've got Blade coming. And again, same thing. Oh, by the way, there's been vampires all this time.
And, like, to me, the vampire thing's really interesting. I don't know exactly how they're going to handle that.
I feel like the vampire thing is warranted given the fact that there's always legions of vampires on Earth. So I feel like it's just still stuck in there. That's easy to explain.
Sure, but I mean, it's I guess you could just argue, yeah, they've always been there. In which case, well, it kind of sucks that, none of the Avengers and none of the Defenders and none of anybody has ever sort of bumped into them. But again, if you get this scenario where
the low, like, being an Avenger and facing a vampire, like, two different pay grades. You know what I mean?
Sure. But I mean, Hulk was a defender at one point in the comics.
Hulk was a defender, but Hulk's not a defender in the MCU.
No. But I'm just saying, like, it just, like, yes. But if you had Nosferatu and he's fucking up Romania, that could be a problem. But what I'm saying is, like, it just, like, Spider-Man never bumps into one in say, New York, for instance. And if you're going to then base this in, say, New York and not London, where Blade is in England anyway, in the comics, then you would sort of want to have some kind of especially New York, because New York is featured so heavily in the MCU. If you're going to put a vampire in there, again, another way, an easy way is just go, hey, look, is when Doctor Strange is saying, hey, look, okay, well, I've met with these X-Men, this is what we're going to do, Scarlet Witch, I need your help, blah, 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 blah. But during that process, other things that... It opens the door and allows you to bring in other things, maybe unsavory things, or things that that Marvel need to add to the universe now to set up for later and whatever have you. It's a scapegoat way of bringing in all those ingredients in one go, and then you've got a convenient explanation. So it also, if you, again, like Ethan says, rather than just bringing the X-Men over, but actually merging the two realities, and people not knowing any different, when you do change something in the canon now, going forward, and we go blah, 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 well, everyone just says, well, that's the way it's always been, because they don't know any different. I guess it lets you fix some mistakes.
Yeah.
It might also allow you to bring back Black Widow. Maybe she lives in the X-Men universe, if that's something they wanted to do.
I can't see them doing anything with Scarlett Johansson after Black Widow.
No, but it might let you bring in Miles. It might let you bring in...
I don't think they will, because of how Spider-Verse is going. They won't bring fucking Miles properly into the live action.
Sure. Look, but the point is, my point is if you fold a reality with the current one willingly, it gives you opportunity to bring in not just the X-Men, but I guess a whole bunch of things. Whereas if you do, say, the Eternals, and the Eternals go, okay, well, we've planted the seed and here's mutants, then it doesn't create the possibility for other things. I mean, who knows what Marvel's intending to bring in? I mean, we've got some idea of what's coming in the next phase, but beyond that, I mean, Feige's got the next bloody 20, 30 years planned out, hasn't he? Something ridiculous like that. So I'm guessing, like,
it's not just how much forward planning's been done. I know he said the next 5 is concrete. The next 10 after that is pretty fluid. But that was at the time they were dealing with the Fox merger. There were backup plans. Like, hell, there were even backup plans for what if we don't get Spider-Man for Civil War.
Yes.
Like, they had a whole pathway that was mapped out without the inclusion of Spider-Man. Now that they have these characters, like, obviously shit's going to be shifting. But I know that they've got at least 15 years planned out before or after acquiring all the characters.
Yeah. And and lastly, is there any really wild theories that you've heard, like some real out there kind of shit that you just think, what the hell?
The biggest kind of out there theory was that the Snap created them.
Okay.
Yeah.
The way the Snap works was that it killed half of the universe's population and then brought them back. It didn't just create mutants.
Right.
I think that theory is kind of insane.
It's a thorny one. It's going to be interesting. When do you think this is going to happen? When do you think we'll see mutants starting to appear in film?
Oh, fucking 6 years, 5, 6, 7 years.
Realistically, they could start bleeding in as soon as Falcon and Winter Soldier. This is going to delve into a bit of spoiler territory, I think. But so there are supposedly hints and teasers to Weapons Plus, which is the program that started Steve Rogers. But that, like, Erskine's program in the original Captain America movie was Weapons Plus.
Right.
He, like, and as well in the comic books, it's fairly well-known canon that Steve Rogers is Weapon 1. Logan is Weapon 10.
Yes, yeah, he's based on the same tech, yeah.
Yeah. So Thunderbolt Ross is trying to, and as well, Hulk is also a version of that as well.
Yep.
It just went wrong. Abomination is a version of that as well. US agent, who is going to be in Falcon and Winter Soldier, is going to be a version of that as well. You know, that could be a way that they introduce Logan. I'm not saying Logan's going to be in Falcon and Winter Soldier, but that seems to be the way that they're starting to trend, is that Weapons Plus is starting to become a thing more in the universe. So, you know, we could get teasers towards X-Men as early as Falcon and Winter Soldier. We could get teasers in Doctor Strange and Multiverse of Madness. I think the biggest one is Black Panther, where, again, there's been talks that Storm's going to appear. Not only that, but Black Panther has a pretty budding rivalry with Namor, who was teased in Endgame with the earthquakes under the sea. And Namor as well.
Who's also rumored for Eternals.
Namor is?
Yep.
Interesting, I hadn't heard that.
A young Namor.
That would be cool. But yeah, like, basically Namor is the original mutant.
Yeah.
So, you know, we could get some... And keep in mind as well, I think Black Panther's still on track for May 2022. So that's only 2 years away. You know, we could have mutants as early as then. So...
All right.
Yeah.
So it's still at least a couple of years away. Minimum.
At least, I'd say minimum 2 years. Keeping in mind that the Fox deal was already in development for at least another 2 years before that. So...
Yeah. When's Blade... When was Blade roughly due?
Phase 5. So Phase 5 begins with Black Panther 2, funnily enough.
Yeah, I agree. I don't think we're going to see any X-Men stuff at all, really, until Phase 5. That's my prediction. I think Feige already obviously had a lot of stuff penciled in, and he wants to tell those stories, and, you know, I guess they're going to come first. I would suspect Phase 5.
I think Phase 5 is the best bet.
Yeah.
100% is, yeah.
Yeah, at earliest. And even then, I would suspect probably late Phase 5, but we'll see.
I think they might use Eternals as table setting. Like, this will be... We're going to start teasing this stuff, but we won't get an actual X-Men in a film. Possibly Multiverse of Madness, depending on which way they could take that. Really, they could take that anyway, but I think... Yeah, Black Panther 2 is probably the best spot for it to begin. So
is it possible then? Do you think that as we go into Phase 5 and then 6 and whatever have you, and we have the X-Men, do you think that the X-Men will simply there to be flavouring the existing MCU, or do you think X-Men and their characters may get their own films as well?
Yeah, it's interesting. They might get their own Avengers-style film, where they're bled in other films. So, for example, we might get Storm showing up in Wakanda in Black Panther. You know, we might get Logan in season 2 of Falcon and Winter Soldier when he's getting the Weapon X. Sorry, like the Weapon Plus adamantium bonding and stuff. There's to the point where, like, they kind of do what they did with, like, Iron Man 1, Iron Man 2, Incredible Hulk. Like, they kind of bleed these characters in, and guess what? They have to come together to defeat Magneto. Like, let's just say the mutants are all under attack. The mutants are all working in secret. They're all under attack because Magneto has made himself known, and the mutants have to come together in their own Avengers-style film to take down Magneto. You know, there are ways you could do it.
It is going to be trickier, though, because now you've also got a world of superheroes. So when those events come up, when Magneto, say for instance, is causing that ruckus, and the X-Men are like, we've got to deal with this. What's stopping, the Marvel MCU characters as we know them now from getting involved?
And I mean, you could say that though. What stopped Thor from showing up in London during Far From Home?
Off-world.
What stopped him? What's
yeah? Because there's going to be so many. Because this is not a case of where we're just bringing in a new character or two new characters. We're arguably bringing in,
a whole new roster.
A whole new roster all at once. That's sort of why. That's what I'm talking about. Like, that's a big change, and to sort of go they're off world, all 20 of them is like, that's a bit of a stretch. So it's going to be, in some ways, as fans, I guess we're lucky because we just get to enjoy what's happening and what's coming next. It's the writing team back at Disney that are pulling their hair out, going, "You want us to do what?"
The writers definitely have a big task ahead in terms.
Absolutely. There's probably some of them are watching the acquisition, going, "Please no, please no, please." Damn.
We're all for more toys, but no.
Yeah, our workload just tripled. Damn.
I'm interested though, because I know that the Russo brothers said if they ever came back, they'd do an X-Men or a Wolverine movie. So I wonder, like, if this would be something that they would do, like if they would actively be like, "Yes, let's come back." They kind of said that they were done after doing Winter Soldier, Civil War, and the two Avengers movies. I wonder if this is enough of like a an appetizer to kind of get them back in.
Maybe.
Plus, all right, well, seeing a Russo's X-Men movie, I think, would be amazing.
It would. All right, well, we're going to have to wrap up. We've run pretty long. Just quickly, is there anything important coming out in the next couple of weeks on streaming services that we should be keeping an eye out on, gentlemen?
There's Curse this weekend on Netflix.
Curse. Okay.
It's about the lady in the lake, King Arthur, all that sort of stuff.
Ah, right. Yep.
Umbrella Academy's in 2.5 weeks.
Yep.
2.5 weeks. Okay. Yep.
Depending on news and stuff, we might be back.
Yeah.
Before then, we might be back after it airs. So.
Yeah, we'll just see how much news there is. Yeah. Yeah, and then that'll get us to the end of July. So.
July.
And then August should be interesting. August should hopefully sort of really start seeing things get interesting, because that's when we get new releases back in the cinema in a big way. So, with the light at the end of the tunnel, it's finally there.
Yes, hopefully America doesn't fuck it up for us and Tenet gets pushed out again, because I need this goddamn movie.
All right, gentlemen. Well, thank you very much for joining me in this episode. Appreciate it.
No worries.
Big thank you to our Patreon supporters.
No, wait, we haven't started that yet.
No, we don't do the singing yet. Jesus, he's keen. He's keen. Thank you to our Patreon supporters that help make this podcast possible. It's greatly appreciated. Thank you very much for tuning in. Stay safe, stay clean, stay healthy, and hopefully we'll have you back with us in a fortnight. Failing that, 3 weeks. Just depends on the amount of news. But hopefully we'll be joining you then. All right, Lucas, off you go.
Ba-da-ba-da-ba-ba-ba-da.